Hey folks, welcome to the 15th episode of the Dialog Project with Aditya Bhatia, Akash Janarkar, and Therapetia. Today we have with us Antriksh Jain, an alumnus of BITS Pilani. He's currently working in a product role at JAR, a fintech startup in Bangalore which helps its customers save money and invest it in gold. So welcome Antriksh. It's a pleasure having you with us here.
Hey, thanks Aditya, Akash, Dario. Thanks a lot for the opportunity for getting me to your show. It's a privilege, I'd say.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much for your kind words. So welcome to the channel, and let's start with the discussion. So let's understand what does a normal workday look like for you as a PM at JAR?
Yeah, sure. So as a PM at JAR, just to give some context, as Aditya has already mentioned that it's a fintech startup which basically helps people save money and invest in digital gold. We're a fairly young startup. I think it's only been 1 year of operations for us that we've done, and the team is also not pretty huge as well. Mainly two things to look at. One is current projects or current products that you're working on, and the second is basically certain long-term projects or certain products that are going to be launched in the future and things that you've got to start working on from the beginning. So on a daily basis, how I divide my day generally is like I start off, like I generally keep some time, like I just keep some focus time, like a period of 1.5 hours, where I generally try brainstorming around the kinds of products that I'm working on, what kind of directions do those products need to take, just doing some market research, playing around with other products, try to understand what things are doing. Like since it's mainly around fintech, so I try exploring a lot of fintech apps in general, and apart from that, just trying to understand more about what other kinds of apps are doing. So that's part one, where it's mainly around brainstorming, thinking of different solutions for what people are doing out there. But yeah, apart from that, I think for products that you're currently working on, products that are already live on the platform, which customers are using as we speak also. So for that, what I generally try doing is I spend a good amount of time each day trying to go through customer queries as well, where I try to understand what kind of queries customers generally have related to the product, what are the kinds of challenges they face, what are the suggestions from customers. I think as a product manager, it is very important to understand how your customers are interacting with the product, because I think the product manager is basically the voice of customers in any company. But yeah, once since you're working on a lot of products and features, it involves a lot of cross collaboration as well with different teams, primarily design and engineering. So a good time of my day also goes interacting with design folks, interacting with engineering folks, brainstorming with them on what we're planning to roll out, what things should look like. So I think in an early startup, this is one perk where you get to interact a lot with design and engineering folks, get involved in those decisions as well. And yeah, I think lastly, for features that are already out there, it's very important for a product manager to have a data first approach as well, where you need to analyze the data, you need to understand what the data is speaking. And based on the data, you need to take certain decisions, run a lot of experiments, measure things as well, like what's going right, what's going wrong, in order to improve your numbers and make sure that the intended purpose that you started out with is actually getting achieved. So yeah, that's what a normal workday for me looks like. It gets divided across a lot of things in general.
So let's move on to understanding the softwares or tools which you use on a daily basis in your job.
So like generally for customer queries, like just to understand what your customers are feeling about the product, we have a few internal softwares like tools like Loop and Freshdesk, which your support teams generally use to interact with customers. So they have their own dashboards where you can understand what are problems going on with your features, what are suggestions. So this is always there as a toolkit that you can use from these particular tools. And I think just keeping an eye on social media handles as well, right? Not a tool as such, but just going through your support pages or just trying to understand what your official handles interacting with also gives you a lot of idea when you're talking about the customer support and the user side of things. Then there's user calling as well. Generally in product, we need to interact with a lot of customers and take feedback from them and understand what their challenges are. Generally teams have their own CRMs to call customers. And there are times where you basically have an interview one-on-one with customers, like you can schedule it over a Google Meet or a Zoom call as well. So that's there. And for collaborating with like design teams and like creating your own wireframes. So in product, it's a very good practice if you can create your own wireframes before even going to design. it gives you clarity, like what do you actually want in your product, ki product kaisa dikhna chahiye, what is the functionality. So for that wireframing, like we generally use Balsamic and collaborate with design. Generally Figma is the standard tool and we use the same as well. For like crunching through data, understanding what the data speaks, there are multiple analytic tools as well. We mainly use CleverTap and Amplitude. And also you can use Metabase to run your own queries and just get a better understanding of some backend related data. Also a few other tools as well. I think for note taking in general, you can use any tool like a Google Docs as well. I think Notion just helps you streamline things in a much better way, keep your thoughts much more structured, and so that you can come back, revisit them. I think for mind mapping, like just for scoping out future versions of your product and understanding like what the scope entails, and like just having like your own mind map on like a digital in a digital format. Miro is a very good tool that I've discovered recently. Helps me in creating pretty good mind maps, which help me actually track for what I want to do in my future versions of products that I'm responsible for. And yeah, it just helps you keep a check as well on those particular things. And also for flow charting is a pretty good tool, because as a product manager, it's very important to define flows and how things would go, like say on screen by screen also, how would things go about. So it's very important to like have a good understanding of flow charts, and I think Miro helps with the same as well.
Okay, that's a very comprehensive list of all the tools you use. Great. So Antriksh, you mentioned one of the perks of working in an early stage startup is that you get to interact with the design and engineering team as well, very often, right? So how does this role differ according to you between an early stage startup and a startup in its hyper growth phase?
Oh yeah, I think one of the good things about product management is like when compared to other roles out there in the market, there are not very stark differences when you compare like early stage startups and late stage startups, because the role after a point boils down to ownership and how you can drive things. But yeah, a few differences I would say, like one would be like the structure and processes between teams. In early stage startups, things are a lot more unstructured. Not a lot of processes are generally in place because of other priorities. And I think this allows you to collaborate with other teams as well, because there are no clear boundaries drawn. And I think another thing between early stage and late stage startups is like the amount of ownership that you get as well, right?
Understood. Okay. So now if someone wishes to pivot from working as a PM to a different alternative career path, what opportunities does he or she have?
Yeah. So I think one beauty of the PM role is like, since it's cross-functional, and you get to work with not just design and engineering, but like let's say you get to work along with growth people, people who work in growth, people who work business strategy on the customer care side of things as well. So since you get to work across a lot of work with people in these divisions, you also get to understand certain things about their role, like what they're working on, and as a product manager, you've got to do certain parts of their job along with them as well. So I think because you have this kind of an opportunity where you getting to work a lot cross-functional, you can definitely like pivot towards business and strategy roles, because that's a very huge part of any product, right? As part of product management, because you get to you working across multiple divisions, user research, user experience is also one side of things that people generally pivot towards. It's a very niche part of product management, but people who really like the idea of interacting a lot with customers and building experiences for them, and not really towards the design, engineering, or analytics side of things, can switch here as well. And I think once you rolled out your product, and then the phrase of growth comes in, where now since you rolled out a product, अब इसको grow कैसे करे? How do you get it to more people out there? So growth is also a very interesting role which people switch towards. Product-led growth as a career option is something which has opened up a lot over the last few years. A lot of people are actually thinking, yeah, product-led growth karna chahiye, because you get to work at those intersections as well and drive growth through product initiatives. So I think these are good career switches. Entrepreneurship is definitely one, because as a product manager, because of the ownership you get, you're building things and you're the sole person who's responsible for getting it shipped. Like, you work across with different teams, but you're the person who's responsible and has taken up the ownership of shipping things.
So pretty exciting pivots you've shared there, Antriksh. Moving on, Are there any specific skills that you think are prerequisites to break into this field? And would you recommend any online courses or certifications for this?
I think as a product person, skills core, you can break it into two ways. Like you can have a set of soft skills and hard skills as well. Since it's a cross-functional role, soft skills also do play a very big part. In soft skills, I think the number one skill that a product person needs to have is empathy, because a product manager is basically the voice of the customers in the entire company. He is the person who channels all the things coming from the customer's end, and then builds it out into products, gets it in front of stakeholders, and then gets live with it. Communication is it's very important as a product person to be very clear in your communication. You need to ensure that since the product person is the one who everyone else is following in the company, like be the designers, the engineers, everyone else. The product person needs to be very clear in his communication of what they're trying to achieve, what they're trying to build as a whole. And yeah, I think in terms of hard skills, these are again things you can easily build by you can easily build. I think one is analytical thinking. As a product person, very good to be with numbers, need to understand what the data is speaking and take decisions accordingly. But yeah, I think the product space has evolved as a whole over the last two years. I've seen in the pandemic a lot of cohort based courses have come up, which I think is a very good way of breaking into product management, because code-based courses, number one, are actually taught by people who've been long in the product industry. So it's very good to learn from industry experts.
Got it. Perfect. Moving on. How important is a formal degree to succeed in your job role? And if yes, what level of specialization is good according to you?
Yeah, I think with the current market, a formal degree is not a blocker anywhere these days, the way roles have turned out to be. And I think people are just looking, like companies are just looking out for hungry people who are willing to take ownership.
Got it. Sounds great. Moving on, how do you think this job profile will transform in the coming decade?
I think product managers are the glue which tie multiple things and bring things from, like, let's say from concept to a proper thing which is live in front of users. So I think, yeah, the role is there to remain I think in this decade, it's more about how product managers leverage technology and how fast they are with how well connected they are with technology, and how they can leverage it to build out much better product experiences. So yeah.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah. So Antriksh, coming to the end of our discussion, I just wanted to add a question, like, what is the growth trajectory in this job profile? Like, by this, how would the responsibilities vary as the career progresses?
In terms of responsibilities, like generally at a junior level, like APM and PM level, you are responsible for certain set of features on the app that you need to drive. APMs are generally like handholded by PMs for a certain while, and then they transition into that role. But yeah, I think in terms of responsibilities, at least in the junior stages of this particular role, you're responsible for like you'll be given out certain problem statements, and you're responsible for thinking about those problem statements for those particular features, and like building out product experiences or improving product experiences. But as you keep going up the ladder, it's more about conceptualizing, thinking long term. If you're planning to launch a new category of a product altogether, or if you're planning to enter a completely new space, or with your existing product, what does the future of the product look like let's say 2 years, 3 years down the line? How would you want to roll things out? So that's where I think product leads, your director of product, VP of products, they are generally, I think, more looking towards the conceptualization and like the long-term strategy side of things, and along with mentorship as well to people who are junior in the roles, because you got to train people as well who take the mantle at some time. So yeah, that's how generally the role progresses. But yeah, I think things remain constant, interacting with designers, engineers, brainstorming, conceptualizing, releasing, experimenting. This always remains there.
Got it. You've explained quite the entire domain quite extensively here. So with this, we have come to the end of our discussion, Antriksh. So thank you for being a part of our discussion and sharing your insights with our viewers.
Yeah, it was a privilege. I think really helped me have a look at the role as well. Like how would I actually go ahead and speak out to people of what the role entails. And yeah, I think helping people venture into this role, I think like what my seniors had helped me out to do back in college, if I'm able to help out a few more people along the same lines, I think, yeah, feel really happy to do that.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Hey folks, thank you for watching our video.
Please like and share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Also, guys, please don't forget to mention your views in the comment section below, and see you soon with our next video.